What's going on, garage tuners? Phil here, back out in the shop again today, working on the LS Swap 240SX. Where we left off, I had just finished making the subframe spacers. Super exciting. Test fitting the hood just to see if it'll actually sit all the way down, and it does, which is also awesome. And as part of that whole process, I had to pull the driver's side exhaust manifold out because this runner here was contacting the frame. Which means that this time I have to do the thing that I just love doing so much, and that is beat the crap out of that exhaust header to see if I can clearance it enough to fit. I'm hoping I can, but if I cannot, then I need to actually cut away part of my frame and then weld in a patch to make some extra room. I have been dreading this portion of this project, but dreading it doesn't make it go away. So I'm going to tidy up my workspace a little bit, procrastinating the inevitable, and then we'll get to work on that. So I clearanced the exhaust a bit, and for the better part of an hour, I've been trying to get it back into place. However, every possible way that I try to get that in place, it just doesn't. There's something binding it. And I just need 1/4 of an inch somewhere to make it fit, and I can't get it anywhere. I've tried up from below, I've tried at crazy angles here and from the front, and so annoyingly, I think the solution is to lower the car back down, loosen the subframe spacer on that side, take this one off, and jack the engine up so it tilts that way, get it back on, and then lower it back down again to see if it clears. That is tedious. Ugh. But what I've been trying isn't working. And sitting here doing the same thing over and over again will not get me any further. So, all right, here we go. I've got it back in place. I snugged down a few of the bolts just to see. So now I gotta lower it back down again and see where it sits. All right, let me show you. So this runner right here is sitting against the frame right there. I'm gonna mark it. I'm gonna whack it some more, take it off and try again. I'm not far. I mean, in fact, I might be at right about an inch. I just don't want it sitting on the frame forever, you know? Let's see here. Yeah, I'm right there. So I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna whack it a bit more, put it back in. Right there. And I feel sorry for this poor exhaust header. It is just getting the crap beat out of it. This one poor header runner is going to have a fair amount more restriction than the other ones, unfortunately. Show you what we got. So before I couldn't get the spacer in at all. It just wasn't fitting. So now the spacer's on, but like it's just, there's maybe a paper's width in between that spot in the subframe, the frame and that header. Man. I mean, obviously, I have to clearance it more. Period. There's no way around that. But man, is it frustrating. I think I might just put a pin in it for tonight. Take a break, come back out tomorrow, fresh and ready to rock and roll. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure where I left things in the last video, but the last couple days in the garage have been a Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. So let me get you guys caught up. Got smudged. So, on Friday, I spent a lot of time in the garage preparing the chassis so that the headers would fit, okay? I installed the headers, banged them in a little bit, took them off, put them on, measured, took them off, banged them, put them on, measured, did that like 10 times, and it's a big production use. And at the end of the day, they're just not gonna fit well. So I took a little notch out of the frame there, as you can see. It's not ideal, I know, I get it. Sometimes that's just hot rodding, okay? It is what it is. So, with that little notch out of the frame, the headers now have what I'm hoping is adequate clearance. Fantastic. So then, I came over and I made a little patch. This little patch is gonna sit at an angle, allowing the area in between clearance. And I dropped that little patch in the stupid hole about 37 times and had to fish it out with my magnet, which doesn't fit, and the pinchy thing, which doesn't get around it. That was very frustrating. But it's the point where it's a good shape now and it fits. Fantastic. So then I waddled my happy butt over here and I prepared to weld stuff. Now, approximately a month ago, when I was welding, what was the last thing that I welded? It was the bung. When I was welding the bung onto the intake tube, my welding helmet that I'd had for 10 years stopped working. The sensors weren't working right. So I went down to the local welding supply store and I bought a brand new welding helmet. And I brought it out to the garage inside of a box. And it sat there in the box for a while. And when I went to find it the other day, I couldn't find it. I could not find my brand new welding helmet. I looked in the house, I looked in the vehicles, I looked in the other garage, I looked in this garage, I looked in every cupboard, car, bin, couldn't find it. My brand new welding helmet, still in the box, lost it in my own garage. Very frustrating. So I went to the old Harbor Freight and it was Sunday. This was Sunday. And I figured, well, look, I just want to get this thing welded. I want to make progress on it. I'm just going to buy the best cheap helmet they have and make it happen. Buy the last one they have in stock, bring it home, get everything set up. That helmet is DOA and doesn't work. So, there's more. Then, my brother Weston and I, ever so frustrated, decide, okay, let's just do something. Let's get some progress done on something. And we decided to polish the headlights on the R34. And they look fantastic. I am incredibly happy with how they turned out. Yes, there's still some, whatever this is actually on the inside. But these look 1,000 times better than they were. So we say, great. Let's take it down to the self-wash car wash place and wash it so we can start cutting and buffing the paint because it needs it. Go down the street, top off the gas tank, get another 2 miles down the road, and it begins misfiring. The one car that I had that ran well begins misfiring. So we swing by AutoZone. I get a new light bulb with a blinker because one of the blinkers wasn't working. We fixed that in the parking lot. Bring it back home and park it. So that's got a misfire now. I've got a consult cable and Niztune software on the way. I'll plug it in, troubleshoot that when it comes. But now I have more problems than I started off with. So today's Tuesday now. I went to Harbor Freight, returned the broken welding helmet, went to my welding shop, picked up the same one that I bought before, and now I'm back in the garage ready to weld the patch onto my frame here. So I'm gonna prepare and get that all welded in. I'll make sure to film it so you guys can see it too. And then I have to decide if I want to take these, because you can kind of see the corners here are just cut in. But I've seen some recommendations to kind of round it or come in at an angle. So I'm going to decide if I'm going to do that or not. I can see why that would be beneficial because you've got these sharp points of stress here and it could tear potentially, I guess. So maybe I'll come in at an angle and put little patches there and then weld those in. But before I weld, I need to unplug a bunch of stuff. So while I've seen plenty of people welding on cars with ECUs and coils and alternators and stuff plugged in, and in theory there shouldn't be problems, I don't want to risk it. So I'm going to plug or unplug the grounds that go from the chassis to the alternator. I'm going to unplug the grounds that go from the engine to the chassis and the negative to the chassis. I'm going to unplug the connectors, just to be safe, to the coil packs, so there's not plugged into anything. And then I'm going to unplug the ECU entirely. It's a little bit overkill, but all that crap's expensive. And I don't want to deal with it if I break it. I'll be very mad at myself. So I'm going to unplug all that crap. I'm going to sand or grind somewhere in the car so that I can plug the grounding strap in. And then, finally, I will weld that piece into place. So I've got my welding blanket here to cover the engine up with. I'll tape over a little hole there for the brake booster, just so sparks don't go in the car. And then I'll get that piece welded on, finally. That is my plan for tonight. I'm gonna put you up here so you can watch me unplug stuff. Oh, I also got a new camera. The GoPro that I use, it's an older Hero 8, and it didn't have Bluetooth, so I can't connect my mic directly to it, which is not a big deal, but it's kind of a pain. Because sometimes the little, I don't know if the dongle doesn't work, receiver, they don't pair, whatever. So I bought a new to me DJI Action 5 Pro. And that came yesterday. But apparently I'm too stupid to read, and it didn't come with a battery. So the battery for that should come tomorrow, and any video after this one should be on that new camera. So we'll have to see if there's a difference in video quality or not. But the microphone that I use does pair directly with that. So that'll be a quality of life improvement for me. Okay. Grounds that go from the engine to the chassis have been unplugged to protect the alternator. Coils have been unplugged to protect them, obviously, at the coil harness. The coil harnesses, though, are grounded. Yeah, so these coil harnesses are grounded, and the grounds are unplugged. The positive wires are still connected. That should be okay, I think. Actually, unplugging the coils from the harness doesn't do anything, does it? No. I mean, this goes to the computer, but that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the coils themselves. So I'm going to unplug the coils individually. Coils individually now are unplugged. So I think we're pretty safe. I'm going to grind something over here, this guy here perhaps, or right here, to where I can clamp on my grounding strap. And then ready to weld, I guess. Got some nice clean metal there. I'm gonna try and move some of this crap around so I can more easily get my welding cart over here. I have got everything wiped down. I've got my welding blanket here. It's made of fiberglass to protect the engine from sparks. I've got it in place, ready to go. This brake line's pretty close. There's no fluid in it right now. Something I'm gonna have to deal with in the future. So I'm gonna tack it on all 4 corners, and then I'll begin welding it around. I don't know if there's a good place for me to set you. Top's okay-ish. This area is nice, this 2-inch section. It must have been all the goop underneath that I didn't clean that was making it kind of cruddy. Okay, that's better. There's no huge lump sticking out here, which is good. I'm gonna touch up a couple places down here, and then I'll make a decision on if I'm gonna grind these edges and put patches there. Is that perfect? No, not by a long shot. But will it work? Yeah, it'll work fine. I'm gonna spray paint it. I'll put some self-etch primer on there. I'll spray paint it black. It's gonna be under the headers. No one's gonna see it. Is it ugly? Yeah. But if I wanna clean it up, I'll do so next time the engine's out of the car. With the empty engine bay, when it's not a pain in the butt. I'm gonna let that cool off for a minute. I'm gonna let me cool off for a minute, hit it with some paint, then reinstall those headers. What's up, folks? It's the next day. I am back out in the garage again. Today, on the new camera, I upgraded from a GoPro HD Hero 8 Black, which is old now, to a DJI Action 5 Pro, which is kind of cool because it pairs directly with the microphones without needing the little microphone thing. And it also shows me audio on top, so hopefully I won't have another issue like I had a while ago where I was talking and I wasn't actually transmitting. So it's kind of cool. I'm excited to see how this footage differs from that on the GoPro. Now, I know I just told you 8 seconds ago, but I'm more saying it for myself. My plan today is to modify the driver's side transmission mount and get that tweaked so that the transmission mount's done. If it's anything like the passenger side, it'll probably take me an hour or two. And when that's done, if I still feel like being out here, I will reconnect the Y pipe to kind of see the angle at which it sits and how low it sits to the ground. And I really want to configure the map sensor. I want to configure the ECU for the map sensor to see if that fixes my idle problems. So that's kind of my goal. If I don't get that done today, at least I can make a nice long weekend day of tweaking all that stuff and getting it set up nicely. So let's get going. Down and show you the results here. It's not bad. I had to kind of do some fill work there, but I think it turned out pretty well. The backside's a little messy, but is it okay? Yeah. I'll let that cool down for 5 or 10 minutes so it doesn't melt me when I try and touch it. And then I will get it up and under the car to see if it still fits. I have this 2-inch piece here, it's still kind of warm, that I use to kind of keep in between it. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just kind of doing this one-handed. It's gonna need some finessing to get it to fit back in there, but it's really close. So I'll kind of give it a little tug and make this guy fit back in. Then my 2-inch bushing should fit just fine. I'll let this finish cooling off and then get it back under the car, tighten it down. And if that works, crap, I've only been out here like a half hour. I'll get to work on that Y pipe, get that back on there, and then get all the electronics plugged in and see if we can get the car started up again. That'd be cool. I have reattached the Y pipe under the car now, and that's kind of been the whole purpose of this, why I was adjusting the angle of everything, trying to get it sitting better, and it does look considerably better now. So this is a little ways below the subframe, obviously. The back, hold on. So if I get you level the subframe, there we go. I bet that's probably 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches down. But all things considered, that's not terrible. It's not perfect, it's not ideal, but it's not terrible. I think I can work with that. And in fact, I don't think it's actually any further down than the front here. Because here's the subframe. Yeah, so I think that's okay. Which is awesome, because that means that I can fabricate from their back now for the exhaust. That's super cool. That said, what I want to do next is get all of my grounds and things plugged back in, the grounds, coil packs, torque down the exhaust on this side, install and torque down the spark plugs, get all that plugged back in. Once that's done, then I should be able to fire it up again. I still have to figure out what I'm going to do with the coolant here, because this, oh dang it, stupid thing, there we go. This thing is just not good. This thermostat housing sucks. So, I don't know. The RTV didn't stick to it at all. I might give it one last attempt, take it off, kind of sand down the outside of it to give it a bit more tooth upon which the RTV can bite. So I'd sand down this part here and the inside of this ring here. I could try that and I think that'd work. Otherwise, I don't have any other great ideas, so. Anyway, reassembling the car. now, I've got my laptop, there's tuning software installed on this. Let's go in the car. In theory, right now what I'm doing is updating the firmware on the Holley ECU. It was at version 2 point something. The software I'm using is version 3, so the ECU must be updated to version 3 as well. So, currently updating that. I do have the key to on. I have the battery plugged in. So, yeah. So I gotta be honest, I don't know why this isn't doing what I would like it to do. The software seems kind of buggy, and that's concerning. It seems to lock up quite a bit. And I don't know if it's the software, the laptop, combination of the two. No idea. I'm hoping I didn't somehow brick the ECU. All right, interesting. So if I import, okay. So if I import this, I'm able to get the sensors tab here. So I think what I actually need to do here is come in here, and where is my sensors? Sensors, manifold air pressure. And 1 bar. Yes. And then I believe there is a place to kind of manually configure it. Okay, so now my map sensor looks a lot better than it did. So I guess I'll crack the garage door open and try and start it and see what happens. I forgot to plug the fuel pump back in. I've got that back in now. Let's try and turn it over here. Okay. All right. Now how we looking? All right. Still doesn't like that. Okay. It started back up and ran. I'm gonna call that a win for the night. I don't wanna let it run anymore until I get the coolant stuff back in. So, I'm gonna pause there for tonight. I'll come back out tomorrow. We'll try and deal with the coolant system. But it ran again, that's cool.